Oh, hey there, gang. It's Kevin Strange. I'm flying on the solo tip tonight. I wanted to come on and do a little drawing. I'm drawing anyway. I figured I might as well fire up the showpiece here and see if you guys want to come hang out like you did last night. See if you guys want to keep me company, talk to me while I draw. If not, that's fine too. Because like I said, I'm going to draw either way, but I want to start doing more of these shows again. We got a lot of time on our hands these days, these days inside the Corona universe. So I kind of want to start by showing you guys my process, how I draw comic books. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Right now, I got to switch my camera over, and then I'm going to go look at the comments and pull the comments up. So this is my work cam right here. That ought to be good. Ought to be plenty of room, I think, for us to work with. All right. Let me go grab up the comments here and see if you guys are joining me tonight. Work camera right here. Quiet. That ought to be good. Okay. We're going. I got the comments up, and I'm going to show you guys my process here. This is how I draw comic books. First of all, I write the script. Obviously, I write a script for the comics, and this isn't a writing show, so I'm not really going to talk too much about that process. Other than the fact that I sit down and my comic book scripts tend to look very similar to a movie script. When I first write it out, I just sort of write, this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and he says this and she says that, and then this happens and this happens. It's action and dialogue. That's how I write my movie scripts, and that's how I write my comic book scripts. So don't worry about panels. I've got the whole thing paneled out here in thumbnails. I don't do this in my initial pass when I initially write the comic book script. I just write it as a story. I write it in my mind as a movie. And then my second pass through it, I start to panel it out. And I break up those pieces of action and pieces of dialogue into panels. So then I'm starting to see these things as shots in my head. And I write down the number of panels that are going to be on a particular page. This is page number 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4 panels. So I went in and broke all that up into what I would call roughly 4 panels. And I go through the entire script and I panel the entire thing out. Once the script is paneled, I get these little 3x5 note cards, and then I go through and I take my script and I say, okay, this is page 3. Page 3 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels on it. So I figure out and I sketch really roughly what I want page, panels 1 through 5 to look like. And I go through the entire script and I do the entire comic book this way until the entire thing's done. So this is where I'm at right now in the process of I'm doing a direct sequel to my film, my 2009 feature-length film, Cockhammer. This is the Cockhammer Lives graphic novel, a direct sequel to Cockhammer, and this is the first 37 pages. So I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the first 37 pages. Here's the rest of the comic, and right now it sits at 136 pages. So that's this is what I have done versus this is what I have left to do. And when I say done, I'm going to show you that next. So once it's all broken down into 3x5 note cards with panels and rough sketches on them, I then move to these 11 by 17 Bristol board pages. And now you can see I have 32 of these pages penciled out entirely on big, huge 11 by 17 pencil pages. So these are the first 32 pages what I have here. And this process is a two-step process. When I go through these giant 11 by 17 Bristol board pages, this is a two-step process. And the first step is I take this clipboard. It's an 11 by 17 clipboard, and I use a graphite pencil, which is a big, thick, just piece of graphite all the way through. I take this graphite pencil and I rough out my layout of how I want the page to look. So, and I use that, and I use as a reference. Let me get back here. We're on page, this is page 33. Let's go back to page 33 here. 35, 32. So here's page 33 in the thumbnail, the 3x5 note card. And then I take that and I rough it out with the graphite pencil, and I rough out more or less what's on the 3x5 note card. I rough that out on the 11 by 17 piece of paper. The second step in that process is what I'm going to be doing tonight, which is I take I use a 0.9. I use a point. Can you see that? No, can't see that. I use a 0.9, which is one of the darkest, hardest pencils you can draw with. And I use mechanical pencils because they obviously you don't need to sharpen them ever, and they have really nice white erasers in them, and they work really well to do this next step. And this next step you guys are going to do with me here. Like I said, I use this 11 by 17 clipboard, and this just allows me total and complete control to move this around. It's like a portable, movable art desk right here on an 11 by 17 clipboard. So we are going to draw out this page here. And so you'll notice that I just roughly following my roughed out layout here. And I'm going to add a few details here and there. This actually, funnily enough, isn't even the most detailed I'm going to work on this page. So each page goes through so many processes before it finally gets to the completed, finished comic book. Because from here, I will take these hard pencils that I'm doing now. I will scan these into my computer, and then I will go over these hard pencils digitally with ink, and I will then ink over these pencils. So these aren't even the final. So the reason that I don't do a whole lot of detail, I do some detail, but I don't do a whole lot of detail on these hard pencils, is because this isn't even the final process. So this is, I use these hard pencils as a pretty final outline. So that really makes things easy and fast on me when it comes to my inking. I do a lot of the hard work in figuring out some of the most brutal stuff, consisting of perspective and character expressions and poses, things like that. They get worked out in this phase here. And that allows me, when I'm inking, to just kind of use these pencils as a pretty definitive outline that I can kind of just trace at that point. And I'll leave the major details. I'll lay in the general area where, say, the expressions on the characters are going to go, things like that. I'll lay them in generally. But I'll really commit to them more in the inking phase than I do in the pencil phase, if that makes sense to you guys. So it's like like I said, it's like an outline. It's like the outline of a story, where I just get all the hard stuff is just like figured out. I don't have to worry about trying to build my perspective, make sure that because perspective is more than just finding a vanishing point and connecting those lines to your vanishing point with a ruler. When you put characters into perspective, you have to make sure that they are the right size or it won't look right. And I'm still, I'm not super good at that part of it, of putting the characters and whatnot in the correct perspective size. So I try to get those headaches kind of out of the way in the pencil phase, so that I don't have to think about all that crap when I'm inking. I can really concentrate on detail and expressions and building good poses and really laying in fun monstery stuff or nude women, sexually compromising positions and situations. Those are the fun. That's the fun part of drawing, and it's better when I get to the inking phase. All those problems have been solved. I'm actually using the wrong pencil. So I was hoping to get a bunch of you dudes in here asking me questions and whatnots. I'm actually going to put that up. Strangeville is an absolute ghetto, which is why you see boards on the windows here. And there's actually going to be boards on this door back here, because Strangeville ain't no place to live. It's a hardcore, busted-ass ghetto where all these characters live, which is why they're all so fucking crazy. If you've ever lived in the ghetto, you know that the ghetto lives by pretty much its own fucking rules. And those rules are It can be pretty fucking weird, depending on the ghetto. And that allows me to do all kinds of ridiculous, dumb stories with my characters. So here we go. A few people popping in here. Go ahead and ask me some, talk to me. Get me talking to you, gang, and we'll hang out. Otherwise, it's just going to be me drawing pictures, which is fine. Like I said, this is what I was going to be sitting here doing anyway, so I don't mind it. That's how I spend my evenings. Up in the strange crib. Nice and quiet in here. And I draw stories of Strangeville for all you weird and wacky hack minions out there and strange heads. We be doing this thing, and you are watching live how the sausage gets made. Here in a few months, the world will go back to normal, and we will that's a street. I know you can't see what the hell I'm doing back here, but that's the street. That's the sidewalk. That's the busted ass door. We're going way less detailed back here because it's a house way in the back. Last night we were hopping. Had all kinds of motherfuckers up in here. Chit-chatting and talking. And tonight, not so much. Not so much. Put a little bit of this in here. Pothole. Again, this is the kind of stuff that I won't spend a lot of time detailing because I can do all these details in the inking phase. But it helps to nail them in, and know where all this is going to go. So I don't have to think about that in the inking phase. The inking phase will literally just be tracing over this stuff and making the art as good as I can. Outlining the panel now, making it darker. And then we're going to call this panel good and move on. We just drew Terrence's house. Terrence lives on a really busted ass street in South Strangeville. All of Strangeville is a complete ghetto, but South Strangeville here is extremely dilapidated in its appearance. In fact, a lot of these roofs will have big holes in the roofs too, not just all right. Let's see where we're at here. Okay. So that panel's done. And again, just to reference this and show you how the whole sausage is made. Way back here. Hang on. Are we going in the right direction here? No, I'm going the wrong direction here. Where are my? Yeah, that one, that one, that one, that one. Yeah. So there's your thumbnail versus the pencil art. Thumbnail, pencil art. So now we're going to move on down here to Nixon and Hogan, who have been, spoiler alert, Nixon and Hogan have been plastered to the wall. We'll lay this up like this. By Demony Windgate. Oh, yeah. There we go. That's a good shot. I gotta keep checking on our. Okay, so I've roughly laid in the layout of where I want Nixon and Hogan to be, kind of given them features, make sure that this is all how I want it to look. Make sure I leave room for, there's going to be like a word bubble here and then a word bubble here. So I'm making sure I leave room for word bubbles. I like the layout and composition of the shots. And then I'm just going to go in and do the hard pencils. Nixon and Hogan here only have a small, maybe moderate cameo here in Cog Hammer Lives. They just had their own full-length comic book, Dead Shit, The Talisman of Transmutation, that I released through crowdfunding last year. We raised about $2,000 in crowdfunding for that series. It's a 3-issue. I released it as single issues, floppies, 3-issue floppy comics. And I'm not 100% happy with that process. So I chose for Cockhammer Lives to take a bit of a different approach. And for Cockhammer Lives, I'm going to do the entire 140-page graphic novel in its entirety and release it as a graphic novel. Release it as a nice, thick graphic novel. And see how that does. I think a lot of people on crowdfunding sites are more apt to back your project if you release the story in its entirety. And there are several reasons for that. One of the big reasons for it is because a lot of crowdfunding comics just don't, they get funded, but they don't get finished. They don't get completed, and the backers get burned. They don't get a whole story if they just back singles. So they would rather, most crowdfunding backers would rather take the chances on an entire graphic novel and drop 20 or 25 bucks once, and they're either going to get it or they're not, rather than backing issue number 1, and then backing issue number 2, and then maybe issue number 3 or issue number 4 never comes out, never gets finished. So with that in mind, I am going to try a different tact with this comic, and we're going to do the whole, because Dead Shit, The Talisman of Transmutation in its entirety is about 120-page graphic novel, moderately sized graphic novel. And I'm actually going to release it as a freestanding graphic novel now too. Maybe alongside this one, when this one's done, you'll have the option of buying just the one, Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel, or I think I might create a tier, depending. I might decide to create a tier where you can back both Cockhammer Lives and Dead Shit, the Talisman of Transmutation as graphic novels. But either way, that Dead Shit is coming out as a freestanding graphic novel eventually on its own. So that's pretty much panel number panel number 2 of 3 on this page. So we got our busted ass neighborhood there, and then this is what's going on inside the house. We're going to do the panel now that kind of zooms out and shows Nixon and Hogan plastered to the wall there as Demony Wingate performs his ritual to resurrect, spoiler alert, Darius Fish Demon. Okay. Here we go. So I've got these guys again. I've got the panel roughed out, composition more or less the way I want it. And I can even scooch these guys around, make them smaller, make them bigger, move them around a little bit in the inking phase, because I'm going to do it digitally. So I'll be able to go in once they're scanned and even cut these guys out, shrink them down a little bit, grow them a little bit, move them over if I want, move them up before I actually start the inking process. So there's a lot of phases that you go through. That I go through. I'm self-taught, so other people might draw comics completely differently than I do. But this is the way I draw comics. I give myself all these different processes, which gives me time to catch. I'm actually a pretty piss poor artist, if you haven't noticed. I'm completely self-taught, and I've only been drawing comics for under 2 years. So 2 years. Yeah, that's two years. So my process is to give myself as many different chances and opportunities to fix my mistakes and save a comic from a page and panel from looking really, really crappy to just regular kind of crappy, which is what my style is currently. I mean, I think it gets better as I go. Obviously, it's a cartoony style, and I'm going to keep, like, it's going to always be cartoony, but there are lots and lots of room for improvement. There's always room for improvement, and there's really never it's true in art, it's true in writing, and it's true in life that there's always another level. There's always another level to get to. And so I'll never be truly happy with the way I draw or the way that I write. Oftentimes I can be satisfied with my current level, but I will never compare myself to someone else's talent level, but I will always strive to improve my own, if that makes sense. It should make a little bit of sense, at least. Let's see here. I keep pausing to go back and check the comments, see where we're at. Comment-wise, no comments tonight. Quiet night. And that is just fine by me. Nixon and Hogan tend to dress pretty much like I do. and they have these like really cheesy high tops that they wear with the shoelaces never tied. I do tie my shoelaces so I don't want to fall on my face when I walk around, but they are not smart fellas. So they walk around with their shoes untied. Let's go like this. That is high top. I'm going to go more like this. Throw that out a little bit. Like so. And they're actually, and I'm not drawing it in a lot. I have it, it's hard to see on camera, but I already have the rough graphite pencil lines where I want the like slime that's holding them against the wall. You can't really tell that it kind of looks like they're jumping from where you guys are looking, but they're actually slimed to the wall, and that'll be expressed and reflected much more clearly once I'm doing the inking and coloring phase. So even though it looks like they're just kind of jumping in the air, they are plastered to it as witnesses of the Darius, the fish demon, resurrection ritual. And old school hack minions will remember Darius, the fish demon, from Nixon and Hogan's Smoke Christmas. And as I often like to say, I had a throwaway line in Cockhammer that it was the very first time I mentioned and referenced old Darius, and it was cut out by my editor because he thought that it was a throwaway line and it was wasting time. And at the time I said, yeah, go ahead, cut it, whatever. But then I purposefully made Darius, or at least Darius's tentacles, a character in the next film, in Nixon and Hogan's Smoke Christmas, so that he couldn't be cut from the film, because I like Darius the Fish Demon. I think he's a cool creation of Strangeville. And so here in Cockhammer Lives, I got an opportunity to actually bring him to life, resurrect him, bring him into the mortal world, as it were. A little too low on the crotch there. That's better. So there you go. Like that. We're almost done, gang. We're going to ride this sucker out. And I'm going to call it a night in just a couple of minutes after I finish this page. I think, unless you guys get real chatty real quick, I'm going to call it. Whew. It's giving my hand a nice workout. I've been drawing all fucking day, so. I did these 5 pencil pages. This is the next page to do is a full page. That's Demony Wingate with the Black Mage Diary in his possession and a giant tentacle dong that goes over the entire page. There, there. All right. So, this. Let me show you guys one more time. This is the, let's see, back this up. Show you guys the more or less the full page. And again, what the thumbnail looks like, forehand, and what the big S actual pencil page looks like. And like I said, that putting all these back in order. This will all get scanned, inked, and colored digitally. The word bubbles added digitally. And then it'll be a comic book. And that's my process. This gets added to the stack of finished pages, and then I move on to the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. And I do this every day. Let's switch this back. And I do this every single day, pretty much from the time I get up until the time I go to bed, until the comic book's done. That is how the sausage is made, gang. And I like to do these. I like to do these drawing shows to give you a little behind the scenes on what's happening. And unlike other crowdfunders, comic book crowdfunders, I don't start crowdfunding my comic until it's finished. So there's no risk. When you back a Strangeville comic book campaign, you are backing a finished product that's finished, printed, and ready to ship to you as soon as the campaign is over. And that is a big deal to me. That is a promise that I make to my backers and fans, that you will never get screwed over by backing a Strangeville comic book. You will always get the product that you back. So with that being said, gang, I'm going to call it a night, and I'm probably going to draw. I might do another page. I might call it. What time is it? 11:30. I've been at this like 14 hours, so I might go watch a movie, call it a night, and we'll see you next time. Stay strange.